check.
Welcome to What's a Brewin'. I'm your host, Matt Love, and today I have hosting with me Jorge Zarate. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers. So today we're actually at Grand Canyon Brewing in Williams, Arizona. We just got done recording an awesome episode with Alex, and gave us a rundown here, got to show us around, and this is a really, really cool spot.
Absolutely. I mean, Arizona, I guess it's my home state for now. But yeah, so Matt, today I think it will be a good idea to bring this back to the beginning and do a reintroduction of sorts.
Yeah, so just recently we kind of took the podcast What's a Brewin' to a new level. I invested in some good equipment here to travel around to interview these breweries, and also invested to an ambulance. It's converted, and so we've been traveling around that. And to this date, it's we're like mid-February. We've already put like almost 10,000 miles on it, going around New Mexico and Arizona, and through Tennessee, and we're back in Arizona for a second time already. So it's been really great getting to just meet all these different breweries and distilleries, cideries, meaderies, just around the country, and get to hear their story and about the area they're in, and things to do. Because that's what the reason I started Hop Passport was to travel and try the craft beverages of that area, but also to see what's around. And obviously we're here in Williams. We're about just only an hour away from the Grand Canyon, which we will go check out later today for sure. And but yeah, we're just trying to take it to the next level with the podcast.
So what you mean to say is you bought an ambulance and now you're just having fun traveling to all these different breweries around the country and getting the word out about not only Hop Passport, but all these breweries. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I feel like you started this podcast and you had somewhat of a vision, but it's changed a bit, I think, especially now that you have the ambulance and you're going in person. So give us a little bit of the background, like what did you intend to do when you started, and where are you headed now that things are changing? Yeah,
so I first started What's a Brewin' early in 2021. Things are still pretty locked down, and just a way to showcase the breweries that were partnered with Hop Passport. So I didn't want to be, the Hop Passport podcast. This is, What's a Brewin'. Yes, it's sponsored by Hop Passport, but just a way I can put my own personality to it. The reason I started Hop Passport is I love to travel, and I love the environment and the culture of craft beer. And so I just wanted to really try to showcase that. So when we first started, it was just mainly over Zoom, the interviews were. And, there was a kind of a disconnect. Even one of the episodes where we got our headphones in and he couldn't really even hear me. There's some of the technical issues, which, Zoom is a great company and helped a lot of things. But when you can go in person, people can meet you one-on-one. There's just so much of a difference,
100%.
big time. And so now, it was good then. And when we started, we published 3 episodes on Spotify. We're going to work on getting onto the I think Google Play podcast or something, but iTunes as well, and all the others. But now there's just a huge difference when you can walk in. We're getting footage of inside the brewery, not only the brewery, but we can also get in the backside where they produce it, and just and then things of the area, and get to really talk to those breweries and the brewery owners or the brewers, and see what makes them unique from the area around them, and then what makes their area unique to the other parts of the state and the country. And a lot of times, after we hear their story and what they recommend, we'll go do those things. We'll go try those restaurants, and excuse me. So it's pretty good beer by Grand Canyon. Just shout out to them. But yeah, so it's been a really great opportunity, and just another way to highlight those locations we're partnered with, and build those relationships. That's what the whole thing with Hop Passport. It's build relationships, support local business, and make memories worth repeating. and that's definitely what we're doing.
Absolutely, and I mean, I got to say, because I just spent the last few weeks traveling around, with you, went to Tennessee, and all the breweries that I went to. I mean, it's amazing to experience, the breweries that we're going to be showcasing in the podcast. It's one thing to like listen to, and what we hope, I think, is like, when people listen to the podcast and they get to hear the story of the breweries, is that they hear enough to want to go, like, I want to go visit that place. And I just have to say, like, there's only so much that we can do in the podcast, because from my experience, like, I've been through these interviews and I hear the story and I'm like, I'm there in person. I'm just like, oh, like, we can only share so much in audio and video. But when you're there, like, some of the breweries that we went to in Tennessee were just like, I want to go back. Like, I want to go travel, and like, it's pretty amazing. So tell us, like, now that you're starting, because from, I'm experiencing this as it's changing and, evolving, but I feel like your vision with this podcast has changed a bit just from this experience the last, few weeks. So what's your vision for the podcast moving forward? Like, what do you want people to get out of it? What do you want people to take, and what's your overall vision, I guess?
I would say my vision is, when, as you listen, as you might be listening to this podcast, and it might be a little entertainment. You might be, you might own a hot passport, and you might be looking to go in the area of your state, but you might be someone in Florida and you hear about Tucson, Arizona, or Phoenix, or now we're up here in the Grand Canyon. That might be a bucket list trip for you, and you might hear this and like, oh man, if we go to the Grand Canyon, well, we gotta go to the Grand Canyon Brewery, it's just a little. And with that, it's like, oh, well, we got to get the Arizona Hot Passport as well if we're going to travel there. And it's just a way to, not only travel and visit these areas, but, you get these locals' perspective on other things to do. And that's what's great about being here and asking them not only just questions about their brewery, but what's around. Like, I thought that was really cool today where I think correct me if I'm wrong. It was like Bear, Arizona, or something like that.
The zoo.
So it's a drive-in zoo here, but it's it's not just like they're in a cage, but just like I have never even heard of that. And so it's really close to the Grand Canyon, and you can drive through and see all these different animals and birds and stuff. It's kind of a sanctuary, so a lot of these animals have been injured and whatnot. And I would never even heard of that if I had come here and got to talk to Alex on the podcast. And now we get to share that to our listeners and, fellow hot passport holders. So, yeah, the vision is just to, just take it a step further. Like, okay, because we live in a very huge country, a very beautiful country, so many hidden gems, these national parks, these other things, and, people that take a lot of pride in their food, they take a lot of pride in their beer and spirits and stuff, and just to highlight that stuff and hear those stories on, and even entrepreneurship. A lot of the stuff, I love to ask one of the second last questions a lot of times in the podcast is, if you could go back and talk to yourself before you started, what advice would you give yourself? Or someone starting a brewery or a distillery, what advice would you give yourself? And that could bring a lot of value to some people too. And it's cool, sometimes there's some similar threads, but sometimes there's some off the wall things like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've been loving those questions, by the way. I mean, I've heard different answers from all these different brewers, and I'm like, wow, like, I mean, because I'm an entrepreneur myself, and so some of the things that they say, like I relate to a lot of the struggles that they talk about and the advice. I'm like, yeah, like it makes me feel like I'm not alone on the journey, and so what I'm hearing is like, okay, so this podcast is really, for both like other brewers who, whether you're an owner or you're a head brewer at a brewery, you're getting to hear the stories of other people that are going through a similar journey. But then there's also the consumer, right? The people that are going to the brewery and they're going there for the beer, which, I mean, going to all these different breweries, we've had some amazing beers, different flavors, different, people get creative in different ways. So you get to see all these different styles. Some of them are local, right? So like at Grand Canyon Brewery, we had this prickly pear beer, which, being in the Arizona desert, prickly pears, kind of like a local ingredient. So
Yeah.
it's nice to experience those things. And I also like the idea of showing up to brewery, getting all these different suggestions, like, hey, you should go check out this place, go do this or that. And for example, like for me, I've lived in Arizona for a while, and I've never really explored this area, like Williams area. We were down at a golf course, playing disc golf, and the scenery there was amazing. It was something
Hmm.
that's like, wow, I can't believe I haven't really been in this area, even though disc golf is not like necessarily my thing, but it's something that I'm like, hey, if you're traveling around here, even if you're not into disc golf, that might be like a cool activity to, like, even if you're just like, I was just driving the golf cart around myself, not even playing disc golf, but I enjoyed the scenery alone. So it's like a good thing to like go experience. We saw some deer, so you can see some natural wildlife. I don't know. I think those are things that are gonna be very valuable for people that are traveling to get to experience life, not just at the brewery, the beer, which is all amazing, but also get out, explore, like get to know the country. And
Oh yeah. I mean, we got to go to Horseshoe Bend. That
yeah,
was a beautiful area. Got to show my cousin there for the first time, and I've been there 4 or 5 times, but still, like, I've been to 49 states, and for me, that's still the one place when you go there. It's just like, is that real? Like, it just takes your breath away. It's just so big, so immaculate. I mean, I've been to the Grand Canyon a few times. I have to go today too, and it's still just it's almost like your mind can't comprehend it. But I mean, there's all kinds of cool things. I mean, it depends what you just decide, what you comprehend as beauty. But like, you're saying those rock formations, we were playing disc golf over there at that golf course, and they were just like these rounded rocks. And they were huge. But yeah, highly recommend getting out. There's a great app called All Trails, and you just go on there and find some local trails depending on your athletic ability. And there's some beginner ones that are real flat, whatnot, and just when you're in these areas, you could be in Michigan, Minnesota, Florida, New York, Arizona, and grab a pint, or even before the pint, really look at those areas. You might see some crazy wildlife, especially at Colorado. You might see a moose or something. You never know.
we did see that one moose at one time. I've been in Colorado for I don't know a while now, but there's only one time that I've seen a moose, and
Oh yeah, when you see it, like, we both own a Jeep Wrangler 4-door, and that Jeep, or that moose, is as big as the Jeep. Those things are
yeah.
huge animals, and it took me till a couple of years ago till I saw my first one, and when I saw, it, I was like, "Is that real?"
And
Like,
and that's the thing. It's like I hope that people get this out of that, because like you can go on YouTube and watch videos, but
yeah,
it's just not the same when you're there in person. Like the
exactly.
feeling you get from experiencing like oh, that's a actual like real live moose.
Yeah.
And then you see all the people trying to get close, getting their selfies. You're
Yeah,
like, what are
yeah,
you
don't
doing?
get close. Yeah, bison, moose, whatever. Just don't get close. When you go to these national parks, Yellowstone, there's some videos on YouTube of there's that person that got too close, and just don't be that person. Respect wildlife. They're wild. They're not in a zoo. But
Yeah.
there's just capture beauty. Give them space. You're in their territory, but yeah, it's been a fun ride. No pun
Yeah.
intended.
So I love this. So I think the point is we want to get people to experience these locations. It's not just the beer, it's not just the brewery, but there's something about, even like for me, like I love travel as well.
Yeah.
And I think there's something about travel where you wake up in a different city, and it's like the air feels different. Like you breathe this like different air. Like there's
Hmm.
just something, you wake up and like it takes you out of your routine. I think is really what it does. It's like you're
Hmm.
you're put in a situation where like you get to rethink, whatever you do at home. Most of us live I call like a robotic life, where we just have like fall into these routines. And when you get out and travel, like you get to like take a step back, and allows you to like, hey, why am I doing all these things that I do back home? And so getting out to all these different breweries, and you experience something different. I feel like it's a good time to reflect and just get to know. So that being said, should we introduce the podcast for this episode, or you talk
Yeah,
about New
well,
Mexico?
yeah. So actually, we'll start with Arizona. So this brewery was in Tucson, Arizona. Was Hard Bottle Brewing,
Okay.
and we interviewed them. We had the owner and the head brewer, Mike and Nick. And so it was a great experience. It was really great to hear their story and, about their beer, about their area. So, yeah, check it out. Today we're at Hard Bottle Brewing in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm sitting with Mike and Nick. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, what are we sipping on today?
Well, you're sipping on the Hard Bottle IPA. It's our flagship IPA. It's real classic West Coast. Nick could probably tell more about it than I could now. He's our head brewer. It was originally it started off as my homebrew recipe from 15 years ago. It's unrecognizable to what it was. It's evolved brew after brew. In fact, the first 2 years we brewed it, it was never the same beer. We're like, we're never quite happy with it. It was always a little too malty, a little too hoppy, a little too this, and we kept tweaking it until Nick finally made the final tweak to this beer. We're like, don't touch it, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a real classic West Coast IPA. We're not trying to get into a pissing contest with how hoppy this beer can be. We want something that's nice and clean, easy drinking, hoppy but not a palate wrecker. So if you want 2 or 3 of them, it's not going to destroy your palate. Not super high alcohol, 6.5, 6.3%. But yeah, just super classic West Coast, kind of old school these days in the world of hazy beers and hazy IPAs and juicy IPAs and all that nonsense. This is kind of a rare thing to find these days.
Yeah, it's very drinkable. It's not the too hoppiness, and
You often get criticized on the clarity of it.
Yeah.
You're like, it's a good beer, but I wish it was hazier. It's like,
Well, that's
it's not supposed to be.
yeah. We can there's a hazy IPA for
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
And we make a hazy
Yeah.
IPA. We make a couple. So that's just it's kind of become our flagship. I mean, IPAs tend to do that. We didn't seek out to make the IPA like our number one beer, but that's just kind of the way palates gravitate.
It's the market.
Yeah. But it's funny because actually our number 2 beer is the exact polar opposite. And that's what I'm drinking is our Czech style Pilsner.
Okay.
And it's like completely opposite beer, crisp, clean. Again, crystal clear. You can't tell because of the mug, but it's weird that our top 2 selling beers are one, the hoppy beer, and the least hoppy beer.
So your mug, is that something for Mug Club members, or is that?
Yeah, we do a mug club. All the old guys sitting over there are part of it, and we have probably about 40, 50 members right now. We're getting ready to do another run. There's 2 different mugs. There's a black mug, and then there's a gray mug. The black mug is like the super expensive mug.
Okay.
But you get your first beer every day for $2. Our normal pint prices are $7. So you're getting
A 20-ounce pour.
you're getting a 20-ounce pour in a mug for $5 as opposed to a 16-ounce pour
Yeah.
for $7. And then all your beers after the first are $5, and you save some money on merch. You get like 15-20% off of merch and that kind of stuff. On the rare occasion we actually have merch, which since COVID we really haven't had any merch in house, so it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah, it's been hard to get right now too.
No, yeah,
It does. So, is it a yearly membership? How if someone was looking into join? How?
It is. So like right now our mugs are currently sold out. I'm looking to source some more because we have a lot of people asking about our mug club.
Yeah.
But it's a yearly membership. So like this mug, so actually the black mug will cost $1,000.
Okay.
But to renew it, it's half that price every year. So you renew it $500, and it seems really steep. But when you start going through, like if you're a daily drinker here, and you within the first 3 months you pay back that mug and you are saving a ton of money. So for those that aren't the daily drinkers, maybe you come in once or twice a week, there's a cheaper mug. It's the gray mug. You don't get the $2 pint every day, but all your mugs are $5.
Okay.
And so for those people, those mugs are $250, and then $125 every year. We're actually just coming up to the renewal date right now, so we're having people go through and start to renew. Then we have another one that we do in October. It was like October, November, something like that.
Yeah, I think we had it in the fall and spring.
Yeah. And so usually it's was designed to be like twice a year, so depending on what time you joined. It's getting way confusing now. In fact, when you walked in, I was starting to make a calendar of all the people that signed up at random times of the year to find out when their new renewals are due. So it's starting to really grow.
We did an early renewal thing when COVID first hit and we shut down, and so they could get an early renewal and get a couple extra months on that new renewal, and then that we just got to keep all the paperwork straight.
Yeah.
We don't want to cheat people out of their
No.
cheap gear.
Oh, yeah. And Nick, what are you drinking on today?
I'm having the IPA as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Classic. It's good. It's not my favorite. We make some specialty beers that are.
Says the guy that makes the beer.
Yeah, no. It's one of my favorite IPAs of all time. But sometimes there's other beers here that we make that if it's on tap, that's what I prefer to be drinking. But we can't go wrong with the West Coast IPA. It's what I grew up with. It's what I was drinking in high school when I shouldn't have been drinking.
Yeah.
Those 90s IPAs, and this is just sort of a callback to that with just sort of elevated and more fun and less of the IBU wars like Mike was talking about, where you're just like bitter for the sake of it. It's just a nice, clean, balanced beer.
Just for the record, I had my first beer when I was 21.
Oh, yeah?
First sip of alcohol.
I'm sure. I believe that. Me too.
Just for the record.
I have a funny. My first beer was I had a babysitter who was next door, and I was hanging out over there.
Is this a PG story?
No, it is. Her and her friend, I think they were in high school, and I don't know, I was like third grade, but they tricked me into drinking pickle juice. And so I had this awful taste on my mouth. So I run back home to my dad, who's like watching a football game or something. I'm like, just drink something nasty. And he had his, I don't know if it was Coors Light or maybe I think it was a Miller Lite. He was like, oh, just drink this. So when I was like 5 years old, I had my first sip of beer.
I think I prefer pickle juice.
Yeah, I know. I was like, whoa.
That's weird because we really like pickle juice.
I know. Yeah, especially it's like, I don't know, I was like 4 or 5, I can't remember.
There's actually a great beer that is available mostly in Texas. It's a Texas brewery, and every time I go up to Texas to go see my daughter, we get so many people like asking for this beer. And it's literally it's a pickle sour.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pickle sours out there, but this one in particular is literally like drinking alcoholic pickle brine.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it is fantastic. In fact, I just got back last week from Texas, and I have like 10 cases or 10 six-packs of this crap just to like give everyone. And we were at the store like, hey, we're at HEB. Who wants pickle beer?
Yep.
I got you pickle beer.
Nice.
By the way.
It's so good.
And,
You can
wouldn't
make an
think,
enchilada out of it.
but
You can do like
literally,
it's so
it tastes nothing like beer. Even like, I mean, it's supposed to be a goza, but it's literally pickle brine. So if you don't like pickle juice, you're like, ugh, because it's not just a little pickly. It's pickle brine.
They make a spicy version too.
Oh.
I got that too.
Nice. That reminds me of, so I used to live in Minnesota, and the Minnesota State Fair, it's actually the largest fair in the country, and it's the most visited per day. Texas, it's I think like 20 days is theirs, but Minnesota is only 10. But anyways, there's a brewery we're partnered with called Tin Whiskers, and they do a pickle beer every year for the Minnesota State Fair. And that reminds me of that because I've had their pickle beer and it's really good.
Nice.
But yeah, one in Texas. Interesting. Cool.
It's good.
It's huge in Texas. There's a couple breweries in Texas that are making them.
Oh, there's
But-
lots, yeah.
Martin House is the one.
Martin House.
Yeah,
is
Martin
the
House is the one we
They're
really
best
like.
Oh,
made,
okay.
they're best made.
So shout out to Martin House. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. So we're Tucson, Arizona. What for someone might be listening to this, they might be from New York, Florida, Tennessee. What two attractions would you say if someone's coming in visiting you guys? What else should they check out in the area?
For me, I mean, and I'm not much of a foodie, despite the way my stomach says otherwise. But I mean, food in this town. Tucson is one of 2 UNESCO designated like cities of gastronomy. We were the first in the U.S. And what that means essentially is that we have a super rich history of like cuisine and agriculture, using that local agriculture, those local crops, local ingredients in our cuisine. And most of these cities that get this designation from the UN are like places in Italy and places in China, very just like crazy cities. And Tucson, several years back, I don't know, a decade ago
Maybe,
or so, was the first named in the U.S. as a city of gastronomy. Oddly enough, San Antonio became number 2.
That's right, yeah.
And so 2 places that I go now all the time. And so for me, like, you will not find better food.
Wow.
Here, especially, I mean, we have a very unique style of Mexican food. You go to like California, Southern California, San Diego, their food's really good. You go to Texas, and Tex-Mex is Tex-Mex. It is what it
New
is.
Mexico, and that's their own sort of brand as well.
But here we have like awesome like Sonoran, like Mexican Sonoran cuisine, and like,
Yeah.
there's nothing like it. So for me, like number one on the list, if you come to Tucson, there's so many good
Prepare to
restaurants.
eat.
Go get some good Mexican food.
Okay.
You got Minaditos, you got. I mean,
There's too many.
There's too many to name.
Yeah.
El Baracha.
You can get to this place where they make the salsa right at the table for you, and like it's as hot as you want or as mild as you want. Like Sonoran food doesn't always have to be just super spicy, but it can be if that's what you like. I'd like to give a plug to my wife's employer, which is the Arizona Sonoran Desert Museum.
Awesome.
Okay.
Which is
Awesome place to visit.
always one of the top 10 museums ranked nationwide. I think actually maybe even globally. I'm not sure. But it's called a museum, but it's really sort of a zoo and an educational center. All the animals are alive. It's not like going to a stuffed animal museum or whatever.
Yeah.
But it focuses on the plants, animals of the Sonoran Desert, which is a region that stretches from the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of California all the way up to the top of the Catalina Mountains that we can see out the window there.
Okay.
And so you got everything from stingrays to mountain lions to bears to they have a whole aquarium. Like it's a really cool place. It's well worth the visit. It's a full day experience.
It is. Lots to see.
Wow. This is my third or fourth time Tucson, and both these are educational to me for both of them. So definitely have to follow up with one of those restaurants.
And they have beer and food events out there.
Yeah,
Oh.
and just look outside. It's what, January 11th. It's probably 70 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. You look at the mountains. There's great hiking trails up there.
Yeah.
I mean, we got just so much great hiking outdoor stuff. So if you're into the outdoors thing, I'm not. I was born and raised in Tucson. I've seen the desert. I don't go out. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate the beauty of it. Like I think the desert's beautiful. So if you come to Tucson, like I mean, don't do it in the summertime.
No.
Oh yeah.
I mean, one, it's actually really dangerous.
It is.
We have a lot of tourists that come here and end up unfortunately dying in the desert because
Yes.
they don't realize when it's 0% humidity or 90% humidity during monsoons and 110 degrees outside.
You need to drink a lot of water,
Yeah.
especially if you're coming here for the beer, which we have a lot of great breweries too. But yeah, drink a lot of water.
But
Yep.
hiking, especially this time of year, it's beautiful. With the snow melting the mountains, all the waterfalls are flowing, the little creeks and rivers are flowing everywhere, and it's definitely something to see if you're from out of state.
And there's blooming season, right? Where all like the cactus flowers. That's a thing here too, right?
It is. So right now, I'd say
When
Tucson
is
thinks
that?
It's fall right now, so everything's like all of the deciduous trees are losing their leaves right now
Right.
because they think it's fall. But
It's like
I mean, it kind of things.
I don't know, you know,
Things
maybe.
kind of bloom throughout the year, especially after the monsoons.
Yeah.
Which is like usually late June through July into mid-August, and then things really start going crazy. You get the Texas Rangers, the mesquite, the Palo Verde, everything just starts kind of like going crazy. And the plants here are so like survivalist. So when they get the opportunity to bloom, they don't waste it.
Yeah.
So you'll have Texas Rangers blooming 4 or 5, 6 times a year.
wow.
Because they have the ability to do so. They have the nutrient, they have the water, and they're like, let's go, let's go. And they fire off on all cylinders, and they become these beautiful purple bushes.
Yeah.
That's my rant, so that's one that annoys my allergies the most. So the plants around here, it's not like on the East Coast or other places where it's like always the same. The plants, a lot of the plants here, the indigenous plants, they bloom when needed, when they can.
Yeah.
So you can get blooms in midwinter, but a lot of it happens right after monsoons.
Okay.
And that's when you get like all the crazy animals coming out. And one of the best things to do is if you're here in the summertime after a monsoon, go out with a flashlight or a headlamp and just wander around, and you'll find all kinds of creatures.
Huh.
Like toads come out of the ground. There's big giant hairy scorpions. There's like it's
toads are loud.
the toads are very loud.
Scream at you all night long.
That's so cool. Because I was here, I think a couple years ago, and I think it was like March, and we hiked. You know, it's during some plant had just started blooming everywhere, and especially you think of the desert. You know, you expect to see just a bunch of sand, but you know, cactus they bloom in the other plants. So it was a very beautiful sight to see. And
Yeah, the saguaro, there's an annual, the saguaro is an exception. They only bloom once a year, and there's an annual sorrel harvesting festival that goes on where they actually have these long poles, and it's the indigenous tribes here. They've been harvesting these for. Tucson is the oldest active agricultural site in North America.
Wow.
People have been farming at the base of A Mountain, which is the mountain over there with the A on it, appropriately. We're setting for thousands and thousands of years.
Wow.
In fact, the oldest continually inhabited population in the entire North America is Northern Arizona. It's the Hopi tribe. That's the Arabi people. They're part of the Hopi tribe, and it is. We actually made a beer named after them because it's a really, really old style of beer. But they are the oldest, literally, and continuously inhabited place, almost anywhere in North America. It's kind of crazy. So Arizona has a lot of crazy, rich history.
Yeah, it goes back just
Thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, they harvest those flowers off the saguaro, and they make like jellies and stuff and preservatives out of it. And it's such a unique taste. We'll never taste anything like it anywhere in the world.
And you pretty much have to be part of like a Native American tribe
To do it.
to even touch them.
Yeah,
Oh.
you have to be on a special trip. where you
Saguaro
have to be
cactus are
in the tribe.
extremely protected. So, like, if I were to go out there in the desert with a stick and start poking it, you could find yourself in prison.
Yeah.
And tens of thousands of dollars in fines.
Yeah.
It's a very protected species. So they have rights because they've done it for thousands of years. It's part of their tribal traditions. So they get to do that. We're getting way off topic from here, though.
Yeah.
Oh no, but it's cool. I mean,
love where we
We love
Yeah.
Tucson.
Yeah, we
It's
love
not-
where we
oh,
live,
it's-
so-
Oh, 100%. And that's,
spot.
that's what's so great about, Hot Pass. Yes, we're all about the beer, but, a lot of the people, they love to travel and, not only just drink the beer at those places, but also see what's around. And that's very educational. And, I want to, probably hit one of those restaurants for lunch here shortly. So,
100%. We'll give you some good recommendations.
yeah. So for you guys, why Tucson? Why'd you open Hard Bottle here?
I was born and raised.
Okay.
So I love to travel. I love going all across the country. Like, one of my favorite places to visit. I love going to New York City. I think the East Coast is absolutely beautiful. But I would never want to live there.
Oh, yeah.
I love going to California and Colorado, and now my daughter's now in the Air Force. We go to Texas a lot to see her. But nothing is like Tucson. I was born here, and this is my community. I went to school here, and I will die here. Hopefully. I have no plans to leave. So for me, I just wanted to open a business in my community. Hopefully, have an opportunity to give back and cut out something cool and unique in our community. So. It was a no-brainer. I wasn't going to look anywhere else other than Tucson, even though technically we're not in Tucson right now.
Okay.
Tucson's like across the street.
Oh,
So
okay.
technically we're outside in the city limits, and we're in the county. But yeah, so I've always wanted to be here for sure.
And you have an anniversary party coming up, almost 4 years old. Is that correct?
4 years, yeah, it'll be 4 years on February 3rd through the 9th, depending on which store you go by.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We opened by accident a little bit on February 3rd, 2018?
I don't know.
2018? You weren't here. I think it was 2018.
Yeah. 2018. Yeah.
And we were getting real close to opening, and we were doing a tour with some friends, and we got our certificate of occupancy while they were here, and they started like going on Twitter or Instagram saying, hey, they're legal to pour beer, and so we ended up opening on the 3rd, but our actual grand opening was supposed to be the 9th.
Okay.
But people just started shuffling in, so we were legal to sell beer, so we did. So next month, February 5th, right?
February 5th. Yeah.
February 5th. We are doing our anniversary party. And it didn't start off as that. Last year, Nick came up with this idea.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. No, it was 2020.
It's 2019, I'm pretty sure we did it.
I don't even know.
Was it?
But yeah,
That's when we
I
got
mean,
shut down.
honestly, Nick can
No.
tell you more
No,
about
that
it.
was 2020, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, it was 2020.
Yeah, but now it's 2022.
It's been 2 years.
See what COVID does to your brain.
I knew I was right, I just didn't know how I was right.
Yeah, so-
We're in this twilight
So
zone.
Nick came up with this idea in order to really, it had nothing to do with the anniversary party. It just happened to coincide with that time frame.
Yeah.
And Nick's idea was, he came to me, he's like, we should like do like an event. 'Cause at the time there was a couple more breweries over here. And he was like, we should do an event that kind of ties in some of the breweries on the outskirts of town with like us, some of the people downtown, and us to kind of bring us together so our customers have a chance to meet them and their customers have a chance to meet us a little bit. And, just kind of cross-pollinate a little bit. Plus, it's just fun. Everyone likes a good beer festival.
Yeah.
So Nick organized the whole thing, and it was a lot of fun. And so we're gearing to do it again. This time, a little more intentional. Like, this should be our anniversary party.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Nick, you want to kind of tell what we're doing this year? Kind
Yeah,
of
I
give
mean,
a little.
as the brewery grows, the next one of the steps is having a great beer festival. So that was sort of my idea back in 2020. I think we agreed.
We did the festival the day,
was
7 days before the shutdown.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
March. It was like
so that's
March
2020.
7th,
It was
Yeah.
2020. March
Right
7th.
for St. Patrick's Day,
St.
right?
Patrick's Day, the world stopped turning.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So we wanted to do a beer festival because basically, like we're friends with all the breweries all around town.
Yeah.
And we wanted to introduce our customers to their beer, their customers to our beer, and do that by collaborating on beers. So I can't remember. There was the guy from Cisco now. What's his name?
James.
James. So there's this guy who used to be a beer rep for one of the distributors. I was talking to him one day, and he was like, "Well, why don't you do a smash beer, which is a single malt, single hop?" And I was like, "That's great. There isn't one of those in town. So it's not just another beer festival. It's not just brew an IPA or brew a Hefeweizen or whatever." So we went through. We went back and forth. We decided that we would get the breweries together. We divide into teams, and then we would pick a hop and a malt. And every team had to brew with the same hop and malt, and who could make the best beer. It's not a smash beer competition in the sense that we are allowed to use adjuncts.
Okay.
So I think the first year there was like a raspberry
Saison?
saison. We did a sour imperial IPA with persimmons, turbinado.
It was ridiculous.
Just like a couple other things in there.
So good.
Todd from Button did an awesome thing where he took the malt. I think it was Maris Otter that first year.
It was Maris Otter and Horizon Hops.
it-
Yeah, it was Todd and Coppermine. So it was
Todd and
Button-
Coppermine.
It was Button Brewing, or Button Brew House and Coppermine Brewing.
And they roasted the malt in his oven at home 3 different ways.
Wow.
And it tasted like a coffee kolsch.
Oh, so
It was everybody swore he put coffee in it. But
they really kept true to the smash beer. And honestly, I kind of thought just for the spirit of the competition, they should have won it because they stayed so true. It's like they added nothing else. They
Oh.
just used one malt, one hop, and made a fantastic beer.
Really did.
Just using creativity and yeah, that was really cool.
But that was the genesis of the whole thing was just like, let's get brewers together, let's get the different customers. And one of the ways we wanted to promote that is like the most loyal beer drinkers are going to be your Mug Club members. So we actually, like most beer festivals offer like a VIP ticket where you get in early, you get extra things.
And you pay more for it.
And you pay more for it.
Yeah.
We offer a discount to people who are a Mug Club member at any participating breweries.
So that's the VIP. VIP,
Yeah.
you get better benefits and it's cheaper
Yeah.
because you've already kind of paid for some of those perks. Right?
And those are the people we want coming.
Yeah.
for sure.
We want the real hardcore beer drinkers in Tucson,
Yeah.
the people who go out and intentionally support local beer by being Mug Club members. We wanted to reward them. So we've continued that. We had to skip the event in 2021 for obvious reasons, and now we're back February 5th this year, and with the same idea, like let's reward our loyal beer drinkers, let's get breweries together brewing and collaborating, and let's make some cool beers with a single malt and a single hop.
Wow, that's so cool. How it's your anniversary, but you're bringing everyone else together for the occasion, and you're making a fun competition. So, how is the winner chosen? Is it by
It's
it's a
everybody
vote?
who
Okay.
participates gets anybody who buys a ticket gets a 5-ounce pour of each of the beers that are made, and they're poured blind.
Oh, okay.
So they're on our menu board. It'll literally be beers 1 through 4, and I think we do put a style guide on there just to give people sort of a clue, because we don't want people coming in and being like, "Ooh, gross, that's weird." And it's like, well, it's a Hefeweizen, and you were expecting an IPA.
Yeah.
So we give a little bit of a style guide just
Oh,
to
okay.
help the palate.
And we do put the ABV on
Yeah.
there just because for legal reasons, we want people to know that hey, this is a 9% beer you're about to drink,
Oh, wow.
so
Yeah.
go easy.
Right.
So
You drink one of each. You drink 5 ounces of each, and then you vote for which one was your favorite without knowing which brewery team made that beer.
Yeah.
And then-
Oh, and it is a team though, right?
It's a team, yeah.
It-
So all the breweries. So we have 8 breweries this year. So 4 teams. There'll be 4 beers made.
So this year we'll have ourselves, 1912, Black Rock. Yeah, grab the poster because not Black Rock. Black Rock.
Oh, the trophy.
The actual real reason why I wanted to have a beer festival.
He just wanted it.
I wanted to get a championship belt.
Okay,
So we have a
okay.
bunch of blank places for people to win.
Oh,
so
what? So that one's filled out
yeah,
for
that was filled
okay.
out. So the 2020 champions. Yeah. So this year it'll be us, 1912, Dillinger, Coppermine, Button Brew House with Ranch Hand Brewing, and then Borderlands and Fire Truck. Am I missing anybody?
I wasn't listening, but I think so.
I think
I think you
that's
got
it.
it.
Okay.
I think
That should
that's
be
it.
8, yeah.
So Borderlands and Fire Truck will be a team. Button and Ranch Hand are a team. Us and 1912 are a team, and then
Yeah,
Coppermine.
And
Spock. I kind of counted that.
Coppermine and Dillinger.
And Dillinger will be a team.
Yeah.
This year.
Nice. So I see there's only 4 spaces. So whoever wins it the 4th year,
They're gonna keep the belt.
they get to
Yeah.
keep it. All right. Then you'll make a new one.
yeah, it's
We'll make
like
a new
the,
one. All right.
the World Cup trophy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty
But
cool.
only, yeah, I guess the final win. Yeah, once you win it the 4th year, it'll be.
I mean, it's fine because it's not leaving the tap room here, right?
No, we're not losing.
Oh, back to back. So do you share it like 6 months ago? So you're.
No, we have 2.
We bought 2.
Oh, there's 2. Okay,
So
that
there's
makes a lot of
also one of
sense.
these belts at 1912.
Okay.
as well. So yeah, we thought of that much. Like,
Yeah.
We don't, because we're like, do we like share custody of the belt? Do 6 months on here, 6 months on there?
And belts are surprisingly affordable.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's like
That's nice.
I mean, we don't have any like gemstones in it or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
It's like a,
No, it's- it looks
faux
sturdy.
leather and
Yeah.
brass. It's like $200
Yeah.
bucks. So like whatever.
Okay.
The engraving costs like $30 or something.
Yeah. not too bad.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So we'll switch gears a little bit. How'd the name come about? Hard Bottle Brewing.
The name is a little bit of a long story. There's a fun little there's a little blurb not on that can on some of the cans, but my wife has a really fun drunk history version of how this came to be. Hard Bottle is a family name,
Okay.
and if you look over here in this back hallway, there's a family like little lineage and kind of going back to the Harbottles. We are specifically named for my 7-time great-grandfather. His name is John Harbottle.
Mm-hmm.
And John Harbottle was he was a first mate on a ship called the HMS Jackal back in the late 1700s. And the HMS Jackal was a British naval ship, and they were part of like Captain Cook's expedition in the South Pacific.
Wow.
And so as Captain Cook is going along and doing his exploring and whatever, they found themselves in the Hawaiian Islands. And during that time in the 1700s, there was a pretty big civil war going on. Hawaii wasn't established as even a country. It was just a bunch of islands that had tribal chiefs in charge of those islands, and they really found themselves in the midst of this epic fight, during which John Harbottle was wounded severely, nearly died, and in fact, in defense of his life, ended up taking the life of the person that was attacking him. And the widow of this guy that he had killed was, he happened to be one of the island chiefs. His widow took him in and nursed him back to health, because Hawaiians are that's just their culture. You heard the word aloha, but you have no idea what it means except in the Hawaiian culture.
Yeah.
It's so much deeper than like love or acceptance or hello. It's a really deep thing in the Hawaiian culture. And so she nurses him back to health, and during the course of this, they end up kind of forming a relationship, believe it or not. And I have a feeling she probably wasn't too fond of her husband. It was probably an arranged marriage, and she was forced to marry this island chief. And it turns out her grandfather was the chief of another island. So that would be the big island of Hawaii.
Yep.
And so they kind of start a relationship. He starts a kind of relationship with her grandfather. And, he was like, if you need help in fighting, I can kind of help you out a little bit. I'm part of the Royal Navy. I can help broker deals for arms and cannons, artillery, all that kind of stuff. And so essentially that's what he did. He became an arms dealer and a military strategist, for lack of a better term. But he became like a military strategist.
Named after an arms dealer.
Pretty much. Well, he was more than that. He was a military strategist, and at
He
the
was
time,
also in love.
At the time, Hawaii was very just ridden with just tons of violence. Really, just war constantly. All of the islands were just at war with each other. All the tribes were at war with each other, and so he ended up becoming a military strategist for the chief commanding man, who later on, because of all the help that John Harbottle gave him in like planning how to defeat the other armies, ended up getting the other armies to stand down, back down, and he became the first king Kamehameha the First.
Wow.
And so he united all the islands, formed the nation of Hawaii, and so kind of for everything that he did, he was like, hey, dude, I owe you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, you literally gave me a country. You helped me create this country, and you're a white dude from England.
Yeah.
And so he was given a position of nobility. He became the King's Port Pilot and the Royal Bearer of Crowns, and also got to marry Kamehameha's daughter, or granddaughter, and so he became part of the nobility. He was obviously never royalty. He was a white dude from England, but he was considered part of the court and part of the nobility. And literally, all the way from the very first king of Hawaii up until the queen of Hawaii was thrown in prison by the U.S. military, because she refused to step down from her throne. The U.S. is like, we're taking your throne. The U.S. is now a state, and she's like, the hell it is. These are my people. This is my country. And then the U.S. threw her in prison for treason. There was Harbottles were part of the royal court, and they were always the royal bearer of crowns in Hawaiian like nobility, and very prominent name in Hawaii. And my great grandmother was the last person of our family to bear the Harbottle name. When she got married, her name changed, and the name just kind of fizzled out and died. And there's a kind of a bit of a family story about how, when the U.S. seized Hawaii as a state, the Harbottles kind of stopped caring about titles and land, and a lot of their land was seized. And so what little was left, I have a great uncle that supposedly gambled the last bit of land our family owned in Hawaii away, and lost all that money in lack of, a poker game, some game of chance. Let's say he was playing poker, and he literally lost everything that our family had, any land we had remaining, and he lost it in a pub. And so we always thought it was kind of fun to kind of reclaim our family's birthright and start a new legacy by opening a new pub. We lost it all in a pub, let's start it in a pub. And so that's kind of where the name comes from. We kind of fell into it by accident, and that was never our intent. It was actually a customer I was telling this story to about, because he asked that, you say you're largely Hawaiian. I'm about half Hawaiian actually, but I'm very white, and that's thankful, to my mother. She's very German, Irish, English, very fair skin, blonde hair, blue eyes, and I look like her. And I have two sisters that look very much like my dad, who is dark skin, dark eye, dark hair, at least before he turned gray. He's an old guy now, but my dad looks Polynesian. My mom is not, so I took after my mother, and my sisters took after my father, and so it just kind of. I was telling a story about how my Hawaiian heritage. I'm like, no, I actually do have Hawaiian blood. I literally am. I don't look it, but I actually really do. And he was like, that's such a cool name. That should be the name of your brewery. And it resonated. I talked to some people, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Let's do it. It's a little piece of American history or world history.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it's always a long story. There's no short way of telling the story.
No,
There's a short version on the cans.
Oh, okay.
Is it this one?
No, it's the easygoing can.
You don't have it.
We don't have any easygoing.
The cool drunk version.
There's a cool drunk version. Go to our website.
Okay.
It's on the homepage. I actually think it says Jesse's drunk version. It's my wife, and it's all historically accurate. But her version is there's this dude named John. He did a bunch of cool shit in the South Pacific. Then he killed this dude. Did some more cool shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can swear on your podcast.
That's okay.
You can bleep it out if not. But it's just really funny. So
It's the only short version.
it's literally a paragraph long of Yeah, he did a bunch of cool shit, and now we have this kick-ass brewery. And
That's
it's pretty awesome.
I love. Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, you brought back your family name. I mean, where
Yeah, I mean-
people can, and then can be a question for. Oh, it looks like we have the sticker there.
Is this one with the stripe?
Oh, yeah, it has a
Oh,
story.
yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's gonna see up close with the contacts in. God, I'm getting
Need some readers?
Yeah, right. Well, I need to take my contacts out to see up close.
So no, that,
yeah, the origins of Harbottle Brewing drunk version. Captain John Harbottle was born in England in 1779. Did a bunch of cool shit. He sailed part of Captain Cook's expedition to the South Pacific on the HMS Jackal. And did some more really cool shit. And then this one time in Hawaii, he met a really hot chick. And I'm gonna butcher that name. Yeah, you're gonna have to read I can't read that name. I don't want to be
It's
rude.
Papanapuapu.
So that would be your.
And then it
great,
says
great,
no.
great,
It says
great,
no. Just kidding. That was her real name.
But so that would be your great grandmother or something.
Yeah, and that was. She had another name because I believe she was actually Tahitian, but that was her Hawaiian name, and it's actually up on the board. You can check it out later.
So he killed her mean husband. She was so happy that her mean jackwagon of a husband was dead. Her daddy,
Kamehameha.
Kamehameha, thank you.
That one's easy.
I just don't know. It's so not phonetically foreign to me. Anyways, yeah, the rest of the story is a story. But there's a short version on the labels.
Yeah, it's
that's
a
pretty
paragraph.
cool.
It's a paragraph.
That's cool. Well, thanks for sharing. We got some history. Got to know what to do around Tucson, and talk about some of your beers, and talk about your anniversary party. Anything else that we can, like what's a brewing? Any other events or maybe some beers in the works that might be hitting the tap here pretty soon?
We have essentially a Nutella stout. That's okay. It won't actually have Nutella in it, so don't try and sue us, Nutella. And we won't be calling it a Nutella stout either.
But that's what it's going to be.
That's
We're going to call it not tell us now.
Hazelnut, chocolate, and vanilla. So that'll be coming out shortly. We can't disclose what our smash beer is going to be because that has to be secret.
That's a super secret. He's got to come to the event.
But then after the event, is it on tap for a little bit?
It'll be available on tap, and it'll be available in tappers all over Tucson and Phoenix if they,
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you have all 4 from the competition on tap, or
We will,
just?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we buy a half barrel of all the competition beers, and then those will remain on tap until we kill the beer or whatever. But the other breweries, most of the breweries participating are probably brewing a full batch as well, so those beers will be available at their tap rooms and wherever they sell their beers to as well.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, guys, Nick and Mike, thanks for joining us at What's a Brewing.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Very much.
So I hope you enjoyed that interview with Mike and Nick down in Tucson, Arizona. If you're ever in that area, you definitely have to go by and grab a pint or two at Harbottle Brewing. So we're talking about travel and whatnot, and there's what's great about Hop Pass. We're partnered with a lot of great brands, and one of those is Hosty. And so it's actually a company that was started by my 2 cousins, and they have a deal. So if you have the Hop Pass, I'll actually walk you through. If you have the app on your phone, and it can be the free version as well, but we have a tab at the bottom called Partners. And these are different brands we're partnering with around the country, and one's called Hosty, which is based out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. And if you've use the promo code HOPSTAY21, you can get 15% off your host stay. So I'll actually let Jorge talk about Hosty and what they are, short-term rental company. But yeah, what's Hosty all about?
Yeah, so like you said, Hosty is your cousins, and I do marketing for them. But basically, Hosty, it's we have vacation rentals in Colorado Springs, and a lot of people will think of us as like, okay, we have all these Airbnbs in Colorado Springs, but I think with Hosty, what's different and what we're trying to do is we're trying to create an experience for people to come visit Colorado Springs. Like, anyone can go on Airbnb and just rent a home, and they just go to Colorado Springs. But with Hosty, we're trying to take it to the next level. We're trying to reinvent hospitality in a way, and I think this is one of the reasons why Hop Passport and Hosty are coming together, and we're trying to create like an experience where, okay, if someone's coming to Colorado Springs, how do we get people to experience Colorado Springs in a way that they wouldn't be able to experience if they just go out and, rent a vacation rental from whatever other companies. So, these are things that we're talking about, like, hey, let's put together some like brewing tours. Hosty will take care of, the hospitality, lodging, all these, things that go around. And then Hop Passport's going to take care of, the brewery tours. Let's go experience, the beer scene in Colorado Springs and surrounding areas. So that's basically, what we do at Hosty, and I think it's a perfect match for travelers.
Oh,
Coming down
exactly.
to Colorado Springs.
And it was perfect because that's the reason I asked him to be in the app, and it's like, hey, can we have some synergy here? We with Hot Passport get people to travel, and it could be even someone that lives in Denver, and it's like, hey, we're gonna go hit 5 or 6 breweries in the Hot Passport this weekend, but we don't want to drive home after that, so let's just get a nice little stay in Colorado Springs, and boom, get a nice little house. It could be or a big house. It could be a tiny home. They offer so much at Hosty down there, and they have these cool excursions with you can hire people to come cook in your home and stuff. That's so cool. Guided hikes and stuff you guys do. So it was kind of a match made in heaven for them to be in the app with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, if you're a solo traveler, you can come in and say maybe, I don't know, a unique experience, like either a tiny home or a treehouse rental. We have houses that, maybe you have a big group. You want to bring like 10, 12, up to 16 people. We have homes that can house up to 16 people. Go do like a brewery tour, and, if you go do some hiking or whatever and you're too tired, to come home and cook, we have like in-home chef experiences where we'll bring a private chef and they'll cook meals for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we stand out, apart from other Airbnbs where we have other experiences that will make your vacation in Colorado Springs unique.
Exactly. And another thing about Colorado Springs, so of course, amazing breweries. I think Hot Pass, we're partnered with over 10 in the area, but the Garden of the Gods, if you've never looked up Colorado Springs, that's something you got to look up. Garden of the Gods, and then Pikes Peak. That's a 14 or so. It's a mountain that's over 14,000 feet tall. And another very unique thing about Pikes Peak is you can actually just drive to the top. If you're not a hiker and you just want to experience the amazing views, you can still drive to the top.
There's the drive, there's the railway.
Yep,
so
there's
you
that
take
too.
The train, or if you're up for a very challenging hike,
Yeah.
there's the incline.
Yep.
Which is I think it's about a mile less. It's a 2,000 feet elevation gain in roughly about a mile or so. So it's a very intense hike. So that's actually one of the main reasons why people stay at our Airbnbs. They'll go to do the incline, and they'll book one of our Airbnbs with a hot tub because they'll definitely need that relaxation afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for travel wise, there's that. There's the Cheyenne Mountains too. Is actually very popular. If
The Olympic training facility as well. That's very unique. Yeah.
If you have dogs, I think Colorado Springs is a very pet-friendly city. You have Bear Creek, state park. They have a dog park, and that is it's one of my favorite dog parks that I've ever been to. It's amazing. It's very big. You can take your dogs off leash, hike around. There's just so much to do in that area. So definitely worth, if you're coming down to Colorado Springs to visit breweries, it's definitely worth to stay a couple of days or more. And, there's so many attractions in the area that, you definitely enjoy.
For sure. So we'll go and transition to our second interview. So this interview, we got to go to B2B Garden Brewery in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And if you ever, you might have heard Albuquerque, it's a funny name, the city is, but it was really great interviewing this brewery because not only do they they make beer, they also make a lot of different ciders, but they have a full kitchen as well. So it was really cool going there. They take a lot of pride in their food. We got to try some there, and it was really, really good. So check out this interview. All right, today we are at B2B Garden Brewery in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we have today joining us Alicia Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, very, very interesting name, B2B. Where did that originate from?
Well, B2B is pretty much an ode to our brewers. It stands for Brewers to Beers, and it's just our way of showing respect to the people that make the beer and really make the magic happen.
Awesome. That's very unique. I like that. So, what makes your guys' brewery unique compared to the other breweries in Albuquerque, and how many are in the area, would you say?
Oh, a lot. There's a lot of breweries in the area.
Okay.
We are very different. We were one of the first breweries to actually carry nothing but local beers at our original location. This being our only location now, we have 53 taps, and they're all ours with the exception of one. And we have probably the most ciders in town, and we're the only brewery that has 12 ciders.
Wow.
And they're phenomenal. And we have 4 seltzers and 4 agua frescas. We make food in-house. Everything's made fresh to order. Everything's cooked here. We use locally farmed ingredients. So I'd say that we have our own thing going, and I don't see too many breweries out there doing what we're doing.
That's awesome. So, if someone comes here, they're really tasting Albuquerque. Everything's made local and outsourced local too. It sounds like.
Yes.
That's awesome. What so you're hitting on the ciders. What would you say the top couple two are that are most popular?
Our ciders, I would say our hibiscus and our blood orange cider.
Okay.
Our blood orange is very, very popular.
Awesome.
But
That
they're
sounds
all
good.
really good. They're the perfect balance. Oftentimes you'll find ciders at breweries that are far too sweet, or they'll have a very, very dry one, but it's very difficult to find ciders like ours where they're the perfect balance of sweet and dry. They're literally perfect.
All right. Well, actually, I got to try one right here.
Yes.
It is very good.
That's
It's
the
very
passion
good.
fruit.
Yeah, that's good. I do enjoy, one thing about going to a lot of craft breweries that do make food like yours, I really enjoy how they treat their food like they treat their beer. They take a lot of pride in it.
Correct.
And it's normally very, very good.
Yes.
So for your location, what would you say one of your top dishes are?
Well, I would say our tikka chicken torta and our smoked pork cubana torta. They are takes on Mexican street food, and it's our take on it, so it's more modern Mexican. And the tikka chicken has an Indian-inspired flavor profile, and the smoked pork cubana it's a cubana. It's absolutely delicious. The meat is slow cooked over 12 hours, and then it's shredded, and we make all of our own sauces. We get the bread from a local bakery in town. They're Tolera rolls. And we serve them with chips that we fry fresh to order. Blue corn tortilla chips that are cut and fried as soon as you order them.
Wow, that sounds delicious. So, Albuquerque is very unique. I'm originally from Tennessee. I live in Colorado now. And for me, when I thought of New Mexico and even Albuquerque, you think of just flat desert, but that is anything but. There's
Not the case.
Surrounded by mountains.
Right.
And it's very beautiful even right now in January. There's snow around here, whatnot. What are some of the main attractions if someone was coming here from New York or Florida, wherever? What would you say some of the main attractions in the area are?
Well, there's the obvious balloon fiesta, which is what Albuquerque is known for, and the Sandia Mountains,
Okay.
which are beautiful. It's where my husband proposed to me.
Oh, nice.
But there is so much to do in Albuquerque. But one of the things that I always think is what everyone should do when they go anywhere is hit up your local breweries, hit up your local restaurants.
Yep.
So we're a hot spot. Come to B2B Garden Brewery.
Perfect.
Our food is amazing and the beers are amazing and they're brewed in-house. So always go to your local restaurants, local breweries when you come to Albuquerque. Try them all. It is the only way to taste the true flavor of the city. Don't go to a Golden Corral or a chain restaurant.
You can do that back home.
You can do that
right?
at home.
Exactly.
Support them at home. But when you go to a city, anytime I go to a city, any city, you want to hit their, of course, what's hot in the area. I grew
Yeah.
up in Orange County, so you'd go to Disneyland.
Exactly.
But you also have to go to all those local places. So
Awesome.
hit up all your local restaurants and breweries.
And another really nice thing about your location is the garden area, and it's in the name.
Yes.
Right? The back area. How many people does that sit in the patio area?
65.
Wow.
roughly, but we have a big grassy area as
Yeah.
well.
What are some of the things you guys do? Like, do you have any events on the grassy area,
Yes.
things like that?
Live music. We had a fundraiser for high school bands recently.
Okay.
We had high school bands come and perform and raise money for their music programs.
Mm-hmm.
We do live music on Sundays during the summer. We do live music on Saturday nights. We had a beer choir come where a bunch of people come and sing.
Really?
Yeah, but they eat, drink, and sing.
Wow.
It's crazy. It was really fun.
That is cool.
We do a lot of things in the garden, and people have, baby showers,
Yeah.
graduation parties, all kinds of stuff goes on out there, and it's a blast.
And if someone was wanting to book a event here, just go online and I say they probably contact you.
Yeah, they can
or-
contact us.
Okay.
Yeah, and that way they
Awesome.
can have great food, great beer, and go out there and enjoy the garden.
Awesome. And then you have a new addition coming, right? The rooftop.
Yes, the rooftop is coming soon.
Okay.
Yes, we've got the staircase built. That's step one.
What,
So-
what's the vision for up there?
The vision is to have another bar, a restroom, tables, seating, and obviously an amazing view of the Sandia Mountains.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be another seating area like the patio, heaters. It's just going to be a beautiful rooftop dining experience.
Awesome.
And with that
sounds-
kind of view, you're not going to get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
So that's coming soon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that was my last question here, kind of the podcast name, What's a Brewin'? So obviously What's Brewin' is got the patio,
Yes.
the rooftop patio.
Yes.
Anything else to look forward to in the spring or summer?
Well, we're going to keep doing events. We do events all the time. We love to support local groups, local meetup groups, local organizations. We had BMW bike riders come. We had Guardians of the Children come. We give back to the community. We have something called Sunday Fun Day,
Okay.
Fund Day.
What? Oh, okay.
So we have nonprofits come in and we donate to their programs, and we also collect donations from the community, and we hold an event, and a percentage of the proceedings of the day go to that organization. So any sales of food, we take a percentage of that and we give to the organization. So we do that frequently, and that's something we're going to continue to do.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
that's really cool. 'Cause
We're
I mean,
always on the lookout for new
Yeah.
people to support.
I love seeing other, there's not every brewery does that, but a good handful. And it's not just, you're a part of the community, but you're also giving back.
Right.
And it's a way where, some groups or organizations, nonprofits can kind of partner up and bring their crew in that might discover you, and you're raising money for them too. And that's
Exactly.
That's a really cool cause.
We like to bring the community together and support.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank
We'll
you
do a
for
little
having me.
little cheers here. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview at B2B Garden. I know we enjoyed it as we popped in there into Albuquerque. And so, yeah, we'll be wrapping it up here, Jorge. Thanks for joining us. It's been I can't wait to see how this podcast, flourishes, and, it how it molds, and, as we go to these different states, as things warm up. It's still February, so we're trying to be in the more warmer states, as we're in Arizona now, and on the calendar here soon we'll be going to Florida, just so let things warm up and in the country here.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm excited. I'm actually grateful to be able to participate and be part of this experience as it grows and as it unfolds, and be able to travel and go to these different breweries. So I'm excited for you, Matt. Congratulations, and really excited for all the breweries that are coming on board. All the people that are listening to the podcast, and you're getting to hear the stories from the breweries, and you're learning about the area. So hopefully, if you're like me, after listening to some of these stories, maybe you're making a bucket list and be like, yeah, I gotta check out those areas. There's some breweries I want to go back to, especially during the warmer months in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the community that's being built here, and the people that are maybe getting travel ideas, and hopefully we get to see some of those stories from people going. And it would be nice to see people post hey, I listened to the podcast, I heard the story, I heard about these things to do, it got me to go out there, here's my experience. It's going to be nice to hear what people are going to be experiencing after listening to this and checking out the breweries.
For sure, for sure. That's the hope and the goal, and we we'll just keep on working at it, and just post and have a good time. Just let it fruition. So, Jorge, thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
Cheers.